So take it away.
Okay, well, let's open with a joke. This is taken off the web. I think it's a bastardization of a better joke.
Of an Emo Phillips bit, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I was walking across a bridge one day and I saw a man standing on the edge about to jump. I ran over and said, "Stop, don't do it."
Why shouldn't I?
Well, there's so much to live for.
Like what?
Well, are you religious?
Yeah.
Me too. Are you Christian or Buddhist?
Christian.
Well, me too. Are you Catholic or Protestant?
Protestant.
Me too. Episcopalian or Baptist?
Baptist.
Wow, me too. Are you Baptist Church of God or Baptist Church of the Lord?
Baptist Church of God.
Me too. Are you Original Baptist Church of God or Reformed Baptist Church of God?
Reformed.
Oh, that's awesome. Me too. Are you Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1879, or Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1915?
Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1915.
Die, heretic scum!
And he pushed him off the bridge. So that's kind of the theme of the show today is the notion of truth. There are 33,000 Christian denominations around the world, depending on how you count, and all of them claim to have the truth. And usually when they talk about the truth, it's in all uppercase to make it even better. So that we're going to be talking about the truth as seen by these religious claims versus what might be more of the colloquial truth. There's lots of denominations. They all claim to have the truth, but there's a lot of disagreement among them. There's Unitarian versus Trinitarian, nature of heaven or hell, the path to heaven, or the sins, what sins are worse than the other, the nature of God, the nature of Jesus, even whether Adam had a belly button. They've argued about that because it's kind of off the script. So typically there's a sect, it goes along and everybody's happy, and then there's some sort of internal disagreement, and then they divide in half. You're seeing that right now with the Episcopal Church and the gay rights issue or gay clergy issue. They're having a schism, and then there's two churches. It's like a little speciation event, almost. And when you throw all the Abrahamic religions in the mix, Judaism and Islam, you get a huge amount of disagreement. And so I want to talk about truth today. And what does truth look like? What does a truth look like when you've got it? And let's look at the failures of holy wars as a resolution tactic, which was used for many years. And let's take a look at religious tolerance as another resolution tactic, which is another failure. So what does the truth look like? Well, if you're given a math problem, say 55 times 102, you have to do a little bit of work. You put some effort into it, and you arrive at the answer 5,610. There's a moment in time when you've arrived at that answer. And so there's an event. There's a time associated with that. And then also, the answer doesn't change afterwards, right? Once you have the truth, that number doesn't change over time. Well, when Christians say, "Oh, I have the truth," or "My sect has the truth," I ask them, "When was the exact date that your sect arrived at the truth?" And they often don't know. They often don't even understand the question. It's a simple question. When did that happen? And how is it that when you took the lies of your parent sect, which you think is false, and added a few more and how did you end up arriving at the truth? So in other words, 1.4 million wrongs plus 5 don't make a right, or do they? You're making that claim when you've arrived at the truth, taking the history of your sect. And also, has that truth changed since that moment in time? So if it has changed, then it was wrong before, it's wrong now, and either way it's wrong, right? So is the truth mutable? So these sorts of religions don't tend to pass these sorts of tests or these sorts of questions. When we do this in science, we put some work in, we learn something, and we build on that, and we move forward. So these questions tend to show that what they're calling truth is really more like what Colbert calls truthiness. And he says it used to be that everyone was entitled to their own opinion but not their own facts. Now that's not the case anymore, he says. Facts matter not at all, perception is everything. So religious truth, in all caps, is just another name for faith. And we know that we've never really had the truth, right? Because religious sects always are fighting among each other, and they end up with, in the worst case, holy wars between them. And if either side had objective evidence, they would simply present it, and everybody would say, "Oh, yes, of course you're right," or "Of course that's the case." Or if only there were some higher authority that they could just consult and get their answer. But there's no objective God that's answering the prayers of believers, at least consistently across sects. And the Bible is little more than a Rorschach test for the morally challenged. You can find whatever you want in there. Jeff calls it the great big book of multiple choice. So none of these things are working. And so the religions and sects have traditionally resorted to killing each other. And we've ended up with a lot of holy wars throughout history and millions of needless deaths. And there's a biblical quote quite relevant to that, and that is, by their fruits ye shall know them. Matthew 7:16. That's one of the ways we know we can trust that the religions are what they are, by their holy wars. So in the Crusades of the 11th and 13th centuries, there was a success of sorts. They exterminated the Cathars, and so that was one of the ways in which they actually were successful in getting rid of the other religion. And there's a famous quote from that time: "Kill them all, God will know His own." So that's what we have out of there. The Jews have been persecuted for millennia, culminating in the Holocaust. The 30 Years' War in Europe in the 1960s was Protestants and Catholics.
In the 1600s.
1600s? Oh, I'm sorry, 1600s. I said the wrong thing. It actually exterminated 1% to 2% of the world's population at the time. So, yay religion. The French Wars of Religion were also the Protestants and Catholics. The conquest of the Americas in the 1500s was a springboard off the holy wars in Spain between Islam and Catholicism. These wars killed millions and has had a strong religious undertone. And much of the ongoing tension in the Middle East is due to all of this too. And so it's ongoing. Maybe it's not quite as bad as it used to be, I'm not so sure. But it's an obvious failure. So even religious leaders have figured out this is an obvious failure and holy wars. And so the question for Christians is, how many people have to die for you to figure out that this is a con, that this is BS? So that's one for Christians. So, holy wars also prove the claim you hear from Christians about human life being sacred is nothing more than a marketing tool for the dumb, for the idiots. If you look at all the murders that Christians and other religions have done all through the years, the claim that human life is sacred is an obvious fraud. So, but there's a new tactic since middle of the 20th century or so. And what do you do with failure? You invent a new tactic. Well, the new tactic is tolerance. And it's based on this idea of judge not and you shall not be judged, Luke 6:37. And it's basically whatever you want to do is fine with me. Don't complain about me and I won't complain about you. It's sort of a collusion, if you will. And it's similar to this idea of Daniel Dennett pointed out in his book, Breaking the Spell, of belief in belief. So as long as you believe something, that's okay. I think it's just another name for gullibility. And this fails in two ways. One way is religious tolerance just masks the problem of religious evil. So Catholics tolerate the rapture snuff porn industry promulgated by Protestants. Say that 3 times fast. Protestants tolerate the Catholic pedophilia scandal and its systematic cover-up, and nobody goes to jail and nobody really is sort of pointed out as really awful. Other scams are allowed to thrive, like the prosperity gospel scam or televangelists bilking the gullible, and we're all paying taxes to support all this. So the world is a worse place because of religions tolerate the evils of other religions. So this tolerance hasn't worked out, especially for the non-religious. And as a result, a religious society are more dysfunctional and have more social ills than other societies. Another way in which tolerance fails is religious groups will try to get together under the banner of ecumenicism or tolerance, and they usually are there to gang up on somebody else, often the Jews or the atheists. And this happened during the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center was supposedly geared against the infidels. Supposedly the attackers were going after the infidels, and not people of the book. I don't know if you heard that phrase during that time. But it was an attempt to mitigate any potential holy war with Christianity at the expense of so-called non-believers. So we're really going after those non-believers and not the Christians, and so everything's okay. And the U.S. Christians accepted that sort of message, I think. So the conclusion, what can we learn from Christianity's claims of truth? Well, there's no underlying evidence or objective reality to such claims. It doesn't pass the sniff test. Religious infighting has needlessly killed millions, and religious tolerance is the supposed solution to that problem, just masks religious evil and thuggery. And so it's a failure of Christianity, and it's a failure of really all religions. And there's so much failure and so few gods. Anyway, that's it for today.
And yet there are thousands of gods.
Yes, yeah.